This week we are looking at part 1 of an IELTS speaking exam. And here on the screen you can see the questions that a candidate reported being asked about a month ago. Let's read through the questions together. The examiner asked, "Where are you from? Do you like taking photos? What do you like to photograph, people or nature? Let's talk about cars. Do you think the color of a car is important? What kind of car would you like to have in the future? Do you enjoy car trips? Do you prefer being a driver or a passenger?" So, as with most questions that appear in part 1 of the IELTS speaking exam, these are quite personal, and they ask the candidate for their personal opinion on these different topics. Okay, now let's look at the full response, and this response, as always, was scripted by an active IELTS examiner. So you can see that unlike the part 3 response from last week, the candidate's answers are noticeably shorter, and they do expand upon the answer, but because the questions are quite narrow, the candidate's answers are also quite direct. Okay, we are now going to listen to the model response, and just a reminder that this is in the stage of learn within the learn, try, apply cycle of ongoing language improvement. So if you come across any new language while examining this sample response, you should be noting this in your journal, which gives you an opportunity to review the language at a later time. Okay, let's go ahead now and listen to the sample response.
Where are you from?
I am from a suburb of Hanoi. It's in the north of the city.
Do you like taking photos?
I love taking photos. I don't have any professional photography equipment, but I have a few apps on my phone that allow me to capture colors and movement accurately and without blurriness.
What do you like to photograph, people or nature?
I would say people. When I'm traveling, I like to take pictures of interesting places and objects, but I find these photos are more personal when they include my friends or people I care about. It also helps me remember what we were doing or how we were feeling when the picture was taken, which is a pleasant way to relive the experience.
Let's talk about cars. Do you think the color of a car is important?
I'm not super interested in cars. So, to me personally, the color is not that important. However, certain colors, like mustard yellow or gold, look awful in my opinion, and I would imagine these colors would make reselling the car difficult. That's about the extent to which I worry about the color of a car.
What kind of car would you like to have in the future?
I'm mostly concerned with reliability. How long can I use the car before it starts breaking down? My brother bought a Mitsubishi Pajero a few years ago and has had no trouble with it. So, were I to buy a new car, I think I would probably follow suit. I like camping, so the larger frame of this model would make it easy for me to pack in all my things.
Do you enjoy car trips?
As I mentioned, I like camping, but I'm not crazy about the long drive to get to the campground. I'm quite tall, so my legs often don't fit comfortably in a car. Also, I sometimes find the motion of the car can make me feel a bit queasy.
Do you prefer being a driver or a passenger?
Neither, I guess. But if I had to choose, I would say the driver, only because being in control of the car can help me with my motion sickness. It's nice to have something to do on a long journey as well. If I'm the passenger, I'm more likely to get bored. Okay, so I hope you found a few new little areas to note in this response. A couple of areas I would suggest reviewing is how the candidate uses "I would imagine" to suggest a potential outcome for the situation they talk about in response to this question. And they also use the phrase "follow suit" to explain a situation in which they would mimic the actions of another person. So in this case, they have a brother who bought a Mitsubishi Pajero, and then they're explaining that this would probably encourage them to also buy a Mitsubishi Pajero if they were in the market for a new car. So those are just a few items that you might want to note if they're new bits of language for you. Okay, we're going to now move to the try stage of learn, try, apply. And at this stage, you will be repeating some of the language that appeared in this model. Remember that you can go to IELTSSpeakingblog.com to access the full shadowing exercise as well as the full library of shadowing exercises. In this YouTube video, you're going to practice speaking in response to this question. And I will read the question and the response just to refresh your memory. So the examiner asks, "Do you enjoy car trips?" And the candidate responds, "As I mentioned, I like camping, but I'm not crazy about the long drive to get to the campground. I'm quite tall, so my legs often don't fit comfortably in a car. Also, I sometimes find the motion of the car can make me feel a bit queasy." Okay, we will now start the shadowing exercise. If this is your first time doing a shadowing exercise, you should actually be speaking as you watch this video. So you will hear the sample, and then you will be given a pause within which to repeat what you have heard. And the purpose is to try to model your language as closely to the sample as you can. So this means trying to mimic the pronunciation, any change in intonation you hear, any blended sounds, also the pacing that you hear. And in doing exercises like this over and over, you will help to develop your fluency, and you will find that you will naturally start to adopt and adapt some of the language that you see and you repeat in these videos. Okay, let's start the shadowing exercise. Enjoy.
Do you enjoy car trips?
As I mentioned, I like camping, but I'm not crazy about the long drive to get to the campground. As I mentioned, I'm not crazy about the long drive to get to the campground. I'm not crazy about I'm not crazy about the long drive to get to the campground. 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 The long drive to get to the campground. The long drive to get to the campground. As I mentioned, I like camping, but I'm not crazy about the long drive to get to the campground. As I mentioned, I like camping, but I'm not crazy about the long drive to get to the campground. I'm quite tall, so my legs often don't fit comfortably in a car. I'm quite tall. I'm quite tall, so my legs often don't fit comfortably in a car. Don't fit comfortably in a car. Comfortably. Comfortably. don't fit comfortably in a car. So my legs often don't fit comfortably in a car. I'm quite tall, so my legs often don't fit comfortably in a car. I'm quite tall, so my legs often don't fit comfortably in a car. Also, I sometimes find the motion of the car can make me feel a bit queasy. The motion of the car can make me feel a bit queasy. The motion of the car The motion of the car can make me feel a bit queasy. 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 Can make me feel a bit queasy. Can make me feel a bit queasy. Also, I sometimes find the motion of the car can make me feel a bit queasy. Also, I sometimes find the motion of the car can make me feel a bit queasy. I hope you found that exercise helpful. Remember to go to IELTSSpeakingblog.com to get access to the full library of shadowing exercises. Thank you for leaving a like on this video, and tune in again next week for another IELTS shadowing exercise.